Bottom of the AFC West, these two teams have all the talent at key positions, just not at quarterback.
Join us as we break down this matchup in depth in order to help you get a quick inside look into all the numbers and who you should be rostering in this Thursday night Fanduel single game matchup.
Welcome to DFS Insights. I'm David Geistlinger, and I'm joined by my cousin, David Grant Jr. The teams up on the block are the Los Angeles Chargers at the Las Vegas Raiders. But before we go over to our game overview, I'm going to throw it over to David here to do a quick recap of our Sunday night football lineups.
Yeah, that's right, David. The Eagles at the Cowboys was a great game. I'm shocked that the Eagles did not score an offensive touchdown. That was definitely surprising. While the lineup that I did provide did not make the money, I did end up winning a $222 ticket for tomorrow's NBA main slate.
Nice.
And also, and then I also won a second $222 ticket off a $2 entry off Monday night's Green Bay game into the same NBA main slate for tomorrow. So I'm real excited about that, especially since you and I will be posting and covering NBA DFS content on this channel here real soon. How did some of your lineups end up doing?
Pretty good. I mean, I'll go ahead and take one of them tickets off your hands, but no. Mine did okay. Unfortunately, again, we didn't have a winning lineup. I think, almost the first time, maybe the second time on the channel. It's been a bunk, but other than that, dude, I put in about 250 lineups in with my optimizer. Ended up, I think, about a 70% hit rate on them in the leagues I did. So overall, it was okay. Could be better, obviously, but I'll take it with the optimizer. I'm still fine tuning it, so I put those in the lower entry ones just so I can get some results to tweak it. But no, it turned out pretty good. But that's enough reminiscing on the past. Let's go over turn our focus to this Thursday night football matchup and send it back over to you, and you can start breaking this game down.
Yeah, definitely. And also one extra thing, right now, if you want to, just to see some proof and stuff like that, I'm the type of guy that likes to see proof about lineups and everything. You can always find us on Instagram. Right now, my personal Instagram, just look up David M. Grant 31. I post a lot of my winnings and stuff like that on there. And then we also have a DFS Insights Instagram that we're still working on, but we will have that in the description, so that way you can go and check out and see for yourself that we are posting and making money and providing some winning lineups and stuff. So as you mentioned, enough of the promotion. Let's dive into this. We got a matchup here with the 5-8 Chargers against the Las Vegas Raiders. I do love that they are the Vegas Raiders now, by the way. I'm dying to see a game there. I believe you and I actually covered, I think, this matchup back in week 3, 4, 5.
Oh shoot, I can't remember. It's been quite a few.
I know, yeah, we've been cranking the videos out for sure. Back then the matchup definitely meant a lot more. As you kind of mentioned, as we were talking earlier today, I made the comment that we might see, not the starters getting as many snaps, because the teams are more or less not in playoff contention anymore. But you did make a good point with the Raiders coach, being the interim coach, and he's vying for that job. So I think he wants to win his way out no matter what. So the Raiders should come ready to play, and they're at their own home. And that's one of the craziest. Well, I know it's their new home and it's not in Oakland, but nonetheless, it's a home game. 3-point spread. I guess that might have to do with these injuries. because the injuries are definitely going to make a difference here on this slate, and I think going to really change up some of these statistics that we do have up on the board here for you. Like right now, the 33% run plays. I mean, I'm kind of thinking that might might be almost double that, since we got Mr. Easton Stick. At least his first name is Easton. Those were the best baseball bats back in the day. So hopefully his arm is similar to that. I believe we only have, I think, one full game out of him, or thereabouts. I see he went 13 for 24 against Denver, 179 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 2 fumbles. Again, we'll save the player analysis for the next part. Oh man, yeah, the offensive ratings are real close. The defensive ratings are close. Passer rating, that's going to be, obviously those numbers are going to be skewed since we have the different quarterbacks in, more so for the Chargers. Just to be honest, this game is going to be pretty unpredictable with the injuries and the new people playing and just the circumstances. So watching the news and whatnot is going to be big. I think a lot of times when this type of football comes around, it's going to be a lot more running when you're down to your second string or third string type quarterback. So I see a lot of running in this game. What are your thoughts, Dave? I mean, how do you, I think these stats, it's kind of hard to, use those as a jumping off point.
Yeah, and to be honest, I thought about when making the setup here, it's like the stats are kind of, I mean, to be honest, in both situations, it's kind of skewed. I mean, obviously more so in the Chargers because Herbert just got hurt, like I think in the second quarter of last game. However, also Raiders, O'Connell, I believe this might be his 4th or 5th game because he took over Garoppolo's position, a few weeks ago, maybe about 5 or 6 weeks. But so, I mean, it might be the same. He hasn't been doing, all that great, but yeah, I'll agree with the run play. That might not go as high as 60. We'll get into why I think about that during the player analysis, but yeah, definitely keep an eye on it. I don't think this is going to be your 3-0 game like the Minnesota Raiders game is. I think the over-under sitting at about 34 right now. To be honest, I think I see it just slightly above that. Potentially, these two teams also aren't that great at defense. Raiders do have a decent pass rush. Just because I like Crosby, I think he's a beast.
Yeah,
dude was doubtful and still played. I think that's the first time in any sport I've actually seen that actually happen. That was, I think, last game or the game before. But yeah, other than that, it's going to be basically doing research all the way up until lock. Before usually, an hour or two, I'm kind of already settled in, unless, mainly keeping an eye on breaking news. But now it's literally going to be, up until scouring, all the information. So, I mean, not too much to really kind of discuss because, like you said, it's so unpredictable. We don't really know too much, at least from the Chargers. As I said, both teams have great, wide receivers, running backs. However, they just don't have a quarterback, a main name quarterback that you would think of. You don't hear O'Connell and think anything, and you don't hear Stick and think anything. So, but yeah, other than that, I think this game could be, okay. They're both 5-8. They're, according to NFL.com, in the bubble. I don't know what that means, the playoff contention. But I think they're still 2 games back behind, like, the Texans, and I think three other teams are 7-6 in the AFC. So the odds of them making the playoffs are, I think, dwindling, if not, already gone. So with that, let's go ahead and at least help out our audience here and give them our perspective on these players, so they at least can have some decent insight, at least player based and maybe not overall game based.
For sure.
But yeah, let's go ahead and start. I'll send it over to you to start off this the QB analysis. I'll give you the set you up there.
Man. Yeah, I know. Dang it, I have to go first.
I can actually start. I did a little bit of research on Stick. If you want me to kind of give my insight on that. First I'll do O'Connell. O'Connell, he's had 5-6 games under his belt already. Hasn't done great by any means. 5 interceptions the last 4 games, only 3 touchdowns. He does have a fumble. It's kind of looking like his floor is 6 points and his ceiling's 14. So that's not great. That's kind of surprising because you do have, Devontae Adams he's throwing it to. You have Jacoby Myers he's throwing it to, and it's like, little hand pass toss to Josh Jacobs. I mean, he has weapons, so he's had 5-6 games to get into a flow, and you only get 6 fantasy points, 0 touchdowns, literally 0 points against Minnesota. So yeah, I don't have too high of hopes for him. The Chargers defense, I think, is a little bit more friendly towards QB, so he might have one of those ceiling games, mid-teens, 13-15 maybe. But yeah, other than that, I don't see too much. This might be a good, time to fade quarterbacks. At least Aiden O'Connell. As far as Easton Stick, I did do a little research. So he came in about halfway through the quarter when Herbert hurt his finger. He did have 180 yards. He did fumble twice, which, 0 touchdowns. He did have 2 kind of flashy plays at the end. Both Quentin Johnston, he had a 52-yard bomb and then a 22-yard bomb back to back. So he set him up at least pretty decent at the end. He's not a rookie. So I did a little research. He's not a rookie, so he's in his 5th year. He's actually been with the Chargers this entire time. He just re-upped with the Chargers, so he is familiar with their scheme, their setup. He's familiar with their players, their play calling. So he just needs to go out there and show it. He did play he's played every single preseason game with the Chargers. I think he's what was it? I think I wrote it down, but he's getting about 1,500 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. He is a runner, so he has gathered about 200 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns in preseason games. So he does have the ability to run, so keep that in mind. How he's going to do against this Raiders passing, is Crosby going to eat him alive? But I see more potential in him just because it's more unknown than O'Connell. I've seen O'Connell in 5-6 games. I've seen it. I haven't seen anything from Stick, so I guess I'm giving him more the benefit of the doubt. But since they're both at 13K, I'm going to lean more Stick because at least how I see it, I think Chargers, even though Raiders are favored in this, I think Chargers will be ahead in mine. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm with you. You know, sometimes I like to venture out when there is a new QB, just because of the unknown. And I mean, Las Vegas's defense has definitely stepped it up. It does say right now that they're 25th versus the rush. But as you mentioned, if Max Crosby is on the field, that dude's just stopping everybody. Um, the only thing we can really count on from Stick is that he's going to be handing the ball off to me or throwing I'm talking 5 yard, 7 yard type passes. So that's not someone at 13K I'm looking to gamble on, especially if I'm not making a whole lot of lineups. Even if I was making 100, I definitely would be way under the field on him. O'Connell would definitely be the play. Um, some, you know, I do see Vegas's offense being much better. I don't see the Chargers offense staying on the field as long as usual, as long as they would be with Herbert and getting some drives and getting some places. So I think there might be several more opportunities for O'Connell and that Las Vegas offense to put some fantasy points up on the board. So I definitely will have some O'Connell exposure, and it'll be interesting to see how some of these builds come out. So, yeah, with that, I think we could go ahead and kind of hop over to the running backs.
The star of the show.
I know, right? With Jacobs, from what I'm reading, it seems like he's going to be out. What are your... correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he's...
I think he's playing.
Do you? Okay.
He's limited. He did a limited practice Tuesday. I think he is. I think he's gonna play.
Okay.
They're saying he's not. They're hyping up this other guy, which we'll talk about. But unless I get like a definitive hey, he didn't practice, Wednesday, then I'm assuming he's playing.
And what I thought was interesting was that the Zamir White jumped over Abdullah. So I was like, okay, the Raiders clearly want to see what they have in White, because him being at 10K and Abdullah at 7,500, I found that very interesting. I've been playing quite a bit of the Raiders daily fantasy single game stuff, and that just seems interesting. So to me, that hints that Jacobs is either going to be limited or not playing, and that's why I would see White getting a lot of opportunities so the Raiders can see what they have. So he is an unknown. I know obviously if you look on here, you can see he did get a little bit into a couple of games, nothing much. So it'll be real interesting to see if we went back to the preseason. I bet he probably did pretty well if he got the bulk of some carries, depending on the opponent. Well, they had a whole different coach. They had a whole different vibe. Going back to even those games might be foolish. I will, knowing that the Chargers are, 16th against the rush, but the overall defense ranked at 29th. I'll definitely be having some of White and some Abdullah. And again, if they do say Josh Jacobs is in, that will change. So again, stick to the news to keep it moving. That covers the Raiders. As far as, Eckler, with Eckler being healthy and with Dean Allen probably not playing, to me, I think Eckler is going to see the ball as much as he can handle. So I will have a lot of exposure to Eckler for sure, especially since the Raiders' rush defense hasn't been known for being, they're in the back 15. And as far as the other running back for them, Kelly's been been pretty solid. It'll be interesting to see, to see him without. Yeah, he crushed it against Miami, against Kansas City. So man, at 7,000, Kelly's definitely a great play. So I'll have some exposure there for sure. Now, game scripting wise, it might be tough if we think that the Raiders are going to be up. I don't, it is a 3-point spread. I do see, I could easily see this being a close game. So running would be the main thing with some passing. And yeah, I'll have exposures to all RB1s and RB2s and possibly sprinkled in some RB3s. So enough of that. What are your thoughts on the running backs?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree. So Josh Jacobs, I think he's playing. I think he's playing. I don't know. The injury did happen in the fourth quarter. That's my only concern really, is it was a late game injury. It's more, it's nice to see him get in a limited practice today. Really, it's going to come down to what he does tomorrow, and then kind of the reports that come out obviously on Thursday, to just follow up on that. It does say the rush rank is 16 on Fanduel. I don't know where they get these rankings from. The 2-3 sources that I looked up, it says the Chargers rush rank is 6th.
Oh, wow.
In it, so I don't know where FanDuel's get these numbers from.
Yeah.
But they were spread out 6, 8, and I think another 8. I think was the 3 I broke down. So a little bit better than 16th for sure. How that, how that he does, I think Jacobs will still have good potential regardless. That's just because O'Connell, I don't necessarily trust too much as a continuous pass thrower. So Josh Jacobs is kind of a workhorse. I'm with you at least on why Zamir White would get put over Abdul, because Amir Abdul, because he was clearly the number RB2. So if it was just to play to see how Zamir White does, I think that'd be a little risky. He did get more snaps last game than Abdullah, so at 10, I think 10K. If he was down there with Abdullah at about 75, 8K, I would be more prone to take a risk here and there. But at 10K, that seems like a huge gamble, because I'm banking on at least double digits from him at 10K, and with no guarantee. Like I said, that might change if Josh Jacobs goes out, and then we get news that he is the clear RB1. So I'll be keeping my eye definitely on that, because then that would change. Obviously, 10K RB1 would be more appealing for sure. To me, I think probably the star of the slate, I'll say it now, is Austin Eckler. I just see him as the better running back. I don't see these quarterbacks being that great. He is definitely part of the passing game in himself, and I can see if this quarterback is frustrated, he's rushed, he's all these these, especially with the Raiders, Crosby and that pass rush the defense from the Raiders, do these little check downs, so you're racking up 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. I do see the Raiders not that great. I think they are 27th against rushing touchdowns. They allow about 1 rushing touchdown a game, and they also rank 24th, allowing about 103 rushing yards per game. So that's eating season for Eckler, I think. I think Josh Kelly, will have a few snaps, but I think he only had these numbers because Eckler was hurt and out these games. So, you can clearly see when those games were. Other than that, he only had 2 touchdowns, and those were the games that were out. So he hasn't had a touchdown since Kansas City. I believe that's week 7. So if you're counting on that, it is a 7,000 opportunity. So he is a valuable player at that price for sure. But yeah. Now over, that's how I see the running backs. Been heading over here to the wide receivers, which is tough because I can say all the great things about these wide receivers, but just knowing that the quarterback is who's throwing it to them, it's hard to no matter how much research, how much I've done. I can look at Keenan Allen's stats for days, but how is he and Stick gonna jive together? But starting with Keenan Allen, he's a target beast. You can expect, I say, double-digit targets easily. He'll probably catch bulk of those. So you're looking at decent points, at least from receptions from him. The Vegas is pretty stingy against receiving touchdowns, only allowing about 0.4 the last 9 games. So they are pretty stingy with receiving. But Keenan Allen's, shoot. 7.5, wow, 9 targets still, but and as high as 37. So I still think he's probably. I think he outdoes Adams just a little bit on this slate. Not necessarily overall wide receiver accolades, but in this matchup, I think he does outdo Davante Adams. Moving to the wide receiver 2, Quentin Johnston. It seemed like he did have a really good connection with Stick at the end of the game. It might have been garbage time yards, but nonetheless, maybe they ride that momentum. Like I said, he had like a 50-plus yard catch, and then right after that, a 22-yard catch. So he ended up with decent amount of plays. Literally, 80-90% of his yards came in 2 plays. 2 catches the other day, excuse me. So he might have some rapport there with Stick, so keep your eye on Quentin Johnson, at 10K. And then moving down to the number 3, which, Guyton, I think he's okay. Hasn't done anything too great. I did see, which I thought was interesting, I'm moving all the way down here to 5.5K. Alex Eckerson. Dude had 7 targets. 1 catch. Yeah. So the funny thing is the target breakdown, he had 3 targets from Herbert, 3 targets from Stick, 1 target from Keenan Allen.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now, like I said, were those targets catchable? Because that's always the key, right? Is he that literally that bad where he missed 6 catches? Like, is he a Kansas City receiver? Does he have butter hands or lining up off sides? Just kidding. I wanted to bring that up since that's the flavor of the week. But yeah, so he might be a viable option. I'll have to do a little bit more digging into there, but at 5.5, I'll definitely maybe have him in a lineup or 2 just based on that target share. Have to do a little bit more research to see how many times I put him in a lineup. But moving over, Davante Adams, Green Bay Packer fan, obviously, high accolades from him. Really wish he would have stayed, but I understand, I get it. I probably would have done the same thing, but yeah, I think he's still going to get his. I think he's probably still going to get double-digit targets. Hopefully they're legit targets, catchable targets, and he'll bring him down. He's crazy. If O'Connell can get the ball to Adams, Adams is going to catch it. So I don't need to spend too much time on Adams, and I still have high accolades too with Jacoby Myers. I think he is, a beast. When Adam has that off game, it seems like Myers picks up the slack. So he has, a low floor and a high ceiling. And feast or famine, especially with these young quarterbacks. Hunter Renfro, I've been hearing his name a lot more these last few games. Last 3 games. I hear. I mean, obviously not too many yards, no touchdowns, but he's coming up a little bit. So maybe he's getting that reps in with the QB. Kind of, I think he's more in that slot receiver position. So, but other than that, that's where I'm going to leave it over to you for how you see these wide receivers.
Yeah, so again, I guess based on injury news, and now that we are in the fourth quarter of the season, it's just real interesting. I don't think Allen will either A, play, or B, see as many snaps as usual, as I do think that they want to see what they have maybe in some of their other guys. I find it interesting that, I know we're not on the tight ends yet, but that, Everett's questionable with the hip, Parham's questionable with the shoulder, all these injuries. And I know we're late in the season, so there should be injuries, but definitely just something to keep your eye on. I did build my lineup that we'll be going over here in a little bit, kind of based as if Jacobs and Allen were not playing, so keep that in mind. If they do play, that does change things slightly. They do both have pretty bad injuries, and in football, it just takes one big hit for them to be out. Kadeen Allen, you pretty much covered it. He gets massive targets. He's got a very high ceiling. His floor is not too bad either. Crazily enough, when they did play back in October, he had 5 targets, which looks like the lowest of the season, which is pretty interesting, and 3 catches for 32 yards and a touchdown. So that's pretty interesting. And Devontae Adams, like you mentioned, beast, top 5 receiver in the league. Things he was being, I still don't even think he's being utilized properly. It seems like the first quarter they go to him just nonstop, and they drive it down, and they take it all the way down. And it's like after the first quarter, a lot of times I feel like they forget about him. His targets have been all over the place, from as high as 20 to as low as 4. At least lately there's been a little bit more consistency with O'Connell at quarterback. It seems like they're starting to build some more rapport. 13 targets, 13, 7, 10. He does only have 1 touchdown in the last 3 games, and he hasn't hit 100 yards in the last 10 games. I mean, it was the last time he went over 100 yards was against Pittsburgh, August 24th. I do know, Minnesota, according to here, top 10 defense. Kansas City defense ranked 6th, Miami ranked 9, Jets ranked 5th. But nonetheless, I mean, the Giants ranked 26th. Detroit, I could go on and on. Everyone can look at the game log. Just making the point that, his price has come down a little, at least at the 12.5. That's palatable. That's enough to have the variance in case he has that ceiling game at home. I just assumed he'd be 14,000, somewhere up there. So at that 12.5 price, that's at least a little bit more. That's a play I like a lot because of the ceiling. Then, Myers is, as you mentioned, he's a straight up boomer bust. Um, I'll have some exposure there. Uh, that really, I know you did mention Renfro. I really got to see how these injuries play out and stuff and whatnot before I can really solidify. Sorry for being wishy-washy on today's pod. I'm not going to just spit out something as a lie just to state something as a fact and lie to anybody. So, as far as the Chargers, again, it's just crazy. I mean, is Everett and Parham both going to be out? I know they're tight ends, but it's like if they are, that's really going to open things up for, not just for the other backup tight ends, but as well as some of these other receivers. So like you mentioned, the Alex Erickson, with the 3 targets against Baltimore, the 7 against Denver, maybe that has to do with Dicker. That guy, maybe they have a little bit of chemistry, so that might be a good low-owned play to help build the lineups. Yeah, I would say definitely find a way to get Devontae Adams in your lineups at 12.5. That's a great price. And yeah, that about sums it up for me with the wide receivers. I think we could take it over to the tight ends. And so I'll kind of kick that off. Mayer has been stepping in since I believe the other guy that had gotten injured. He's been doing pretty well. 2 targets, 4 targets, 5 targets, 5 targets. He's got 1 touchdown in the past 4 games. He's really got 1 touchdown overall from what it looks like. It'll be interesting to see what Dicker does. Or I'm sorry, not Dicker, Stick. My bad, I was looking at the kicker. And then again, the tight ends that are really going to make impact this game are going to be Gerald Everett and Parham. Both those guys in the red zone typically get the red zone targets. Half the time when you make a lineup, if you put Everett in it, make the same lineup and put Parham in it. Lesson learned by me. I've played several of these slates. Limited participant. And again, with the quick turnaround, he might be able to play through the hip issue. I don't know. I just don't see a lot of these guys the starters getting as many snaps as usual. Parham, likely hold a more formal practice Wednesday, and we could have a better clue. So again, everybody pay attention to all these. This is all going to greatly impact how you're going to be making your lineup. Should they be in, I will definitely have exposure to Everett and Parham if they are in. If just one of them is in, I'll be pretty heavy on whichever one is in. As far as that goes, I'm trying to kind of go down the list of the Chargers, other tight end in case they both happen to be out. Not seeing anyone viable. Sorry, I usually have 3 monitors up with a bunch of stats, and my computer is sent away at Apple. It looks like we got Stone Smith. Hey, he's got a touchdown this season. Again, 1 target, no catch. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. What are your thoughts, David? Enough of me rambling about pretty much getting people nowhere. So throw me a bone.
So Mayer I see is pretty viable. I think he's going to probably be that safety valve for, he's pretty viable with O'Connell. The Chargers are 28th in giving up yards to tight ends. So I see his production at least being a little higher than normal. I wouldn't say it's make or break the bank, but at 7,500, I think he might have one of these 6. He might get a touchdown. 6 to 8, 6 to 10 points or so. I can see him. They do pretty bad against the tight ends. They did give up a tight end last game to Denver. Trotman scored that touchdown. It was a pretty mean pass. They gave up 30 points to Kelsey but Kelsey's also a beast. They gave up 13 to Komet. Chargers do give up quite a bit. It seems like they are 14th against tight ends. So I see him middle field. I think he'll get decent points. I know, I will say definitively for a fact, I know Everett and Parham will play because these two have literally been injured the entire season and they have played 98%. I think Everett was out for 2 games or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. 1 game, excuse me. But literally they're on the injury report every week and it's the same thing. So either dude, if you're that hurt, just take a day or 2, week off, 2 weeks off, and get better. But yeah, I can clearly see these two playing. Do keep in mind that Las Vegas is a little bit better at guarding tight ends. They're averaging 0.1. They're 5th in the league right now against tight ends, giving up touchdowns. Really, the only touchdowns, Kelsey. It seems like everybody gives up touchdowns to Kelsey. And Laporta, who's also Kelsey Jr. So, Everett I see as the better play, but it just seems every time I say that, Parham's here, hold my beer, and he wants to get it. So like you said, if I do get down there to these lower ranked or lower salary players, I'll definitely, like I said, interchange them to 2 lineups, similar lineups, and then just exchange them. It's just to get down that low, it's really tough because everybody's cheap on this slate. There's no one on this slate above 15K. And I don't, it's been a very long time. If not, I don't think I've seen one, like that. Usually you have, I'm surprised Keenan Allen or Eckler isn't, 16K. So you're able to kind of even fit in 4 or 5 10K plus players, and still be good. Now, do you just throw in one of these 8K, 7K players? Obviously, just, because you want to, the ownership and things like that. But you can technically go with the studs or stars all in your lineup because you have that option. So it'll be this slate's going to be interesting nonetheless. Moving over to the kickers, I want to say they're both definitely viable in this game. I see a few field goals. Definitely, it's indoors, so there's no weather that's going to affect them. Prime everything. Terrible quarterbacks. However, good players. I can see them getting into field goal range more than potentially scoring. I see them both, about even. Based on your game script, obviously you're going to choose either or, but 9,500, 9K, they're both pretty viable. Defense-wise, I think they're both, probably viable in this situation, and that's just purely because Stick played a half a game and he fumbled twice. I'm assuming that he is new to the system. He's this is going to be his first career start, even though it's his 5th year. First start that's not a preseason game. Let me rephrase that. So, I could see maybe a few interceptions from the Raiders, and I can see the same thing with, the Chargers intercepting O'Connell, who's given up, I think he had one game where he threw 3 interceptions, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 3 interceptions. That was, 3 games ago in Miami. So, yeah, definitely 8,500, 9K. So, play him how you see fit. I definitely will have, I'll probably lean Chargers in this situation if I had to pick one right now. Yeah, but that's how I see those.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Both kickers definitely viable. This matchup will clearly be different than the first matchup. As you mentioned, with the quarterback situation, I did take a double peek. It looked like that last matchup they had back October 10th, October 1st was O'Connell's first actual start, and he had no touchdowns, an interception, and 3 fumbles, and went 24 for 39. So, now he's had some time now, so I could see him playing a little bit better, and the roles are kind of reversed now. The Chargers don't have their weapon, who on here shows would have been the top play on the slate at 17,500. So that's huge, and it's comparing that first game to this game is almost pointless because of who's going to be on the field.
Yeah.
So that makes both kickers definitely viable, and I could even argue both defenses, because with this being Stick's first actual start, I mean, we have no idea really what to expect, and if he's been in the league for 5 years and this is his first start, he's basically a backup. I don't think that this is any type of just waiting to take over the reins for someone.
I mean, I'm biased on that situation, so.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Jordan Love, who's I think his 5th year, sitting behind Rodgers.
Well, see, I mean, that he was drafted with all that, with a bunch of hype, though. He had that hype, and he had the learn from one of the best.
Yeah. No.
And So
I don't know what he's gonna do, but yeah.
Yeah, you're understandably upset about Monday night's game, as I also would be if I was a Green Bay fan.
I am only upset with the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, that's.
And Matt LaFleur. Hey, Matt LaFleur came out and said that was piss poor play calling, and I 100% agree with him. And everybody in Green Bay 100% agrees with him. And even people who are Giants fans 100% agree. So it's yeah. But enough of that. Let's move over to your lineup and keep the show going here.
For sure. So like I mentioned, the lineup I made here, I was.
Whoa! I didn't update it. Sorry. Let me change that real quick. So, Dak Prescott, huh? Really?
Can I play Dak in this game? I'd love to.
Is that the wrong one too? Shoot, darn, dang. Timeout. Timeout on the field.
Timeout.
All right, my bad. My bad, everybody.
There we go. All right, so.
It's not like we do this. It's not like we do this live. I'm keeping that in. I don't care.
I know, right? So my lineup is being conservative on the fact that I don't know about Allen or Jacobs. My lineup will completely change if Jacobs is going. If he's going, I will have quite a bit of Jacobs. So that's the caveat there. I will have Austin Eckler in 99% of my lineups. I will make one or two just in case, as I did that ended up winning me one of my nice tickets. It was actually my lineup that on the game script that I thought if the other team would win. So, yeah, I'll have a massive exposure to Eckler. To me, he's the clear-cut MVP of the slate. I'll try to differentiate elsewhere. Then I went ahead and went O'Connell for Las Vegas. At that 13K, I paired him with Devontae Adams. I mean, that was really my thinking. Usually when you go a quarterback, you want to line him up with a receiver. So I got Devontae Adams, and then I got Mr. Quentin Johnston. I went him again thinking Allen might be out or getting less, he might be out. I know we talked about the Everett and Parham that they have been playing, but maybe they play a few less snaps. I'm hoping that he ends up seeing maybe a couple extra targets, which he has seen on the road. I mean, at Green Bay, he had 6 targets. Then at New England, he had 7 targets. He does have a touchdown this season. So I was kind of, I think he'll be probably low owned and kind of rolling the dice there. And then, like I mentioned, I went White, Zamir White, simply, if Fanduel's putting him at 10K, it's almost how like when the Vegas line moves and certain things, to me, it feels like Jacobs isn't going to play, or if he does, I feel like White is going to have a massive snap increase of the amount of snaps he's going to play. So that's what I'm banking on with him. I left 500 on the salary. If I'm being completely honest, this is one of those slates where there's just too much news to come out before making solid, great decisions that I want to stand by. With the caveats I mentioned, that's how this lineup was constructed. What are your thoughts on the lineup, David?
Yeah, I would say a perfect example is you can literally do 5 people over 10K in your lineup and still have money left over, which I think is pretty impressive. I'm gonna agree just based on your caveats there too. Obviously, I have the assumption that they are going to play, so obviously it'd be different. But this could just be one of those lineups that, shoot, it's so you'd probably be low owned even though you're only leaving 500 on. I think Zamir White would be your lowest owned, but if a lot of people just happen to read the Q tag and are skeptical, obviously they're going to jump down to White. And if White is RB1, then 10K is a steal, and I think he'll be highly owned.
And it all depends on the people who pay attention to late swap. A lot of casual people that do play this and in that big tournament don't even pay attention to the late swap and with the news. That is something I recommend everybody do. I'm glad that it sounds like I made a lineup with caveats, that is if these people are out, and it sounds like you may have made your lineup based on if these guys are in. So I think that'll actually help the listeners. That way, as you see, this will be a lineup kind of generated if some of these guys are out. And why don't we pop over to your lineup that I'm going to assume is quite different.
Yes. I mean, not too different, but obviously you have the people that are. But so I want Eckler obviously in my MVP because I see him as the clear MVP in this. I mean, I would see either Allen or Adams, but the QBs right now are unknown. Will I have them in the MVP in a few lineups? Absolutely, but I see Eckler being, I'm definitely going to be over-owned on him for sure. I'm rolling the dice with Easton Stick. I like kind of some of the stuff that I saw. He does have that run potential, so if he does get a little feisty, he might, get that running touchdown there. And if he could get a little nervous sitting in that pocket too long, especially with Crosby in his face, he might have to run for his life. So it's easier for quarterbacks to get, rushing yards. They tally up faster than passing yards, and I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he throws the ball, because I'll have obviously some lineups with that setup, but at the same time, I don't see it. Devontae Adams, he's the clear, at least to me, he's the run back player that from the Raiders. I'm going with the 4-1 Chargers onslaught here. So if I had to pick one person, Adams for sure. And the best part of this lineup is I can keep everything the same and then just swap. If Jacobs plays, swap Jacobs with Adams. I'll be left with zero salary, and I'll throw that in and probably hit the money. But, also that would be a good lineup to throw into like a single entry double up contest with Jacobs. It's nice to just swap that out. Being that I'm going 4-1, I do see Chargers being a viable defense to throw in. I think they'll be also lower owned. I think the Chargers and Stick will be low enough to own to where this will differentiate, people, me going Eckler as the MVP. And then obviously I couldn't fit Allen in this lineup, so I went with Quentin Johnston being number 2. Like I said, he did have those 2 my maybe garbage time plays, who really keeps track of that. But so hopefully, maybe that puts momentum going into this game where he's like, Stick says, hey, this is my go-to guy right now. Let me continue using him. So I see this in, and I left 2K on the table. So even that further separates me, hopefully. Do I see this lineup being duped? I I just don't see it a lot, if any, So that's how I see the lineup. How do you see it?
So I started with the Chargers defense when I was originally making my lineup. I think that might be a little chalkier than you think. Because when you game log troll, they scored 14 points. They had 7 sacks, an interception, and 2 fumble recoveries last time they played. Now with, again, I think this game is going to be different because Stick is in, so that offense is not going to be pumping as much, but will their defense maybe have to come together and step it up and play even harder? That could definitely happen. You got Eckler at MVP. I love that. The 2,000 left on the salary is always the way to go in those big GPPs. I do like the 4-1 stack. I think that with the 2,000 left, like as you mentioned, I don't see that being duped very much. I would say if at all, but definitely not much. And bearing on some of the news, as you mentioned, you could just swap out. There's a lot of room to, adjust according to the news. So, great, definitely a great lineup. And again, I like that yours is taken into consideration that we think Allen and Jacobs are playing, to where I really made my lineup as if they both were not. So with that, whose
lineup would you guys put in? Would you go? Obviously, this is kind of open air because we're still waiting on more injury news, and that probably won't come until hour, 2 hours before lock. But in that case, who would you put right now? I think both are viable lineups regardless, especially in GBP, the large field tournaments. So just let us know in the comments below whose you would pick. Hopefully you pick mine, but if not, pick both of them. But moving over here, before actually we get to our, our MVP, our value play, and our, overall game total, you have another announcement because, I feel like the audience doesn't want to win free money. We're trying to give it away.
I've been trying most of the season. Yeah, hey, since we started this, I've just been dying to Venmo someone $100. It's absolutely free. Take a look down at the link in the description. There'll be, sometimes it doesn't fill, most of the time it does. It is public. It's a 100-person tournament. Again, it's absolutely free. Enter in the lineup that you think will win. If it beats David and my lineup and you take first place, I will Venmo you $100. The only caveat with that is you just have to show proof via email that you liked and subscribed to the channel and that you hit that notification bell, and the $100 is all yours.
And I mean, yeah, you do have to place first, but it's only a 100-person tournament, so it's it's better.
It was 63. Hey, yeah, 63 people entered last time. It had been hitting 100, but I saw recently one of them had hit 63. So I mean, at minimum for free, you have a 1 possibly in 63 chance of getting $100. I mean, it's free.
Yeah. So it's like I said, it's no cost to you. You literally hit the like button for free, hit the notification bell for free. You throw a comment down there if you want to. That'd be great. Subscribe obviously to the channel. Guess what? That's free. To enter the tournament, that's free. And hey, listen to. You can clearly hear our breakdown of the game. So use that. Use whatever sources you guys have too, and bring it.
Bring it. Yes, sir.
So with that, I'll go ahead and I'll start it off here. MVP, I'm going Eckler. I don't know. It's not hard to, I guess, explain. Eckler for sure will be the MVP, raw fantasy point wise. Value plays. It's going to be interesting, and this is going to be, obviously on the assumption of a lot of injuries and not, but I think, to be honest, I might go with that Alex Eckerson guy from the Chargers, 5,500. I don't know if it was a fluke he got those 7 targets, but if he does get another chance to get 3-4, and he comes away with a few yards here and there, sitting at 5,500, that might allow you to add in Keenan Allen, Eckler, Devontae Adams lineup, and that right there is pretty nice too. So 5,500 might be too juicy to pass up. I mean, don't enter him in all your guys' lineups. I'm not saying that by any means, but use him sparingly. And then overall score, I'm gonna go 24-20 Chargers.
Okay, I'm with you, Austin Eckler for MVP. Fun fact, he actually did not play in the first matchup this season against the Raiders. So it'll be real interesting to see, because he's a beast. I mean, it'll be real interesting to see how much he outdoes Kelly, who I believe started that game. He got the brunt of it. He had 17 carries for 65 yards and no touchdowns, no targets, no catches, obviously. And again, we all know Eckler is also, he usually gets 5 targets, 7 targets, somewhere in there. So that'll definitely change the game. So I got him at MVP. I'm going to go with my value pick. It's a little tough. I think I'm going to go with Zamir White. And again, I know he's 10K, I think that will, and it's just I don't know.
No,
I just don't see Jacob.
if he's a RB1, I think
Uh,
10K will be a very good
yeah,
thing.
don't ask me. Yeah, man, it's. I mean, against Minnesota, Jacobs had 13 attempts and then 2 targets where, you know, usually he gets 20 attempts, 27, 26, 25, 20. And so I don't know. I just don't know about the injury. And if it is re injured or something, I don't know. I know that that's not the way to really construct your lineup. I kind of have a gut feeling. I don't know. Yeah, but you are right. If Jacobs is officially out, then White will be chalky. So I think I'm going to throw in. I'm going to go ahead and say Hunter Renfro at 8,000 because if they are going to be behind, I do think that they'll, you know, I do think the Raiders will probably be behind in the fourth quarter, but I could see them winning this game. I've been pumped. I like their coach a lot, and I'm just counting on one of the wide receiver, 3 or 4s, to have better chemistry with. Wow, now I'm talking backwards. That's how long of a day it's been for me. I'm thinking of if as if it's Stick, but O'Connell's been out there for a while. Um, yeah, my apologies. I'm gonna go with I think you may have picked him, Jalen Guyton.
No.
No, you picked the other guy. So I'm gonna go with Jalen Guyton. He does have, I mean, besides Denver, he has 3 attempts, 5 attempts, 6 attempts. He did have a great game against Detroit. Four catches, 6 targets, 41 yards, and a touchdown. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with him at 7K. And final score. If if the Raiders are healthy, if Jacobs comes out and everything's all good, I got the Raiders winning this one, and I got them winning 24-17. Raiders.
Nice. Yeah, before we wrap this up, I am going to give away one more lineup because I just did it. And I'm going to enter it in single entry tournament. Eckler as my MVP, Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, that Erickson 5.5, and then I'm throwing in Easton Sticks to complete the 4-1.
Ooh. Okay.
So I just if Erickson comes through for me, that would be money because I have the 3. You can put 3 of the stars. I mean, in all honesty, that should be a decent single entry. I would probably never put that in the GBP, and I would because I probably would maybe place money, but it won't. I don't think take first or anything with that. Unless
hey, we've seen anything happen, bro.
I guess you're right. But no, I'm gonna do that one just for sure. So, but with that,
awesome.
No, this one was a little bit longer, even though that was just because we talked a lot about the injuries and the potentials and things like that. But with that, please make sure you like the video. That obviously lets us know we're doing a good job. Subscribe to the channel. If you do subscribe, put it in the comments that you did subscribe. We like to reach out, and get kind of your opinion and get, introduce ourselves, introduce, you to us kind of thing. So, notification bell, do all the, the free stuff. Please enter the tournament. It'd be great to get, people that are, starting to come to the community, coming to the channel over there to actually, it'd be cool to, give $100 away. Trust me, I'm trying to win it too. So it's not like, trust me, I'm going to hold them up on it too if I win that.
Oh, I'll pay. Hey, if you beat me, bro, if you can beat me in one of those and take first, I will gladly send.
I gotta make sure I like and subscribe too. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I know,
right.
But with that, any last words? If not, we'll wrap this one up. And Yeah, get ready to watch
Yep.
it.
Good luck to everybody out there. Yep. Hope everybody makes some extra Christmas money. And yeah, we'll be dropping another video for Sunday night's game as well. So everybody, good luck and good night.